the politics or the intrigues as far as Parliament is concerned. And we are now joined by Deputy Leader of Minority in the National Assembly, that is Jakoyo Midiwo. Thank you so much indeed for joining us here on the Power Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
Of course, you're not a new entrant in the world of politics. In the 10th Parliament, you had a very key role, played a key role as the ODM Chief Whip. Now, Deputy Leader of Minority.
Yes.
Difference in experience, would you say?
More or less the same, but you know, the new positions are new to us and quite new to the country. There are some of the changes that have come with the new constitution. So I guess how we behave will set a precedent for the country as far as the leadership of our parties within Parliament is concerned. Because we have chosen as a country to go the pure presidential system way. I think that there are going to be challenges, but the challenges are those that we can deal with, given that we are not the first country under the sun to go presidential system. But now we still have the positions we held, like that of the Chief Whip. Now our positions are of overall leadership. Then we have the whips below us on both sides. We will get there.
All right. Of course, one big issue that people are waiting to really follow up on is the place of cabinet secretaries. Of course, you're also a member of the Committee on Appointments. Has it been a long wait? Because, I mean, the committee is up and running, but you cannot move with the vetting process because you're still waiting for the full list of nominees to the cabinet.
Well, you know, the president was sworn in on the 9th. And many people, including myself, we believed that right around the 10th or 11th, there would be an announcement. But the clock has been ticking. So I think either the executive went to sleep for a week or two, or it's a pointer to some problems within the Jubilee coalition. Because I don't think it's normal what we are being treated.
But they're saying, you know, I mean, it's because we're doing the interviews alone, we have to make it face-to-face, and, you know, it takes a lot of process, a lot of things. It's a whole process.
But look at it this way, that can be answered. I think they're looking for reasons to calm the country down. You know, the first thing, you must know that the law said 14 days after the 9th, the government must be in place. We also have the challenges that in a couple of days, the budget must be in Parliament and the debate must begin within parliamentary committees. That cannot be met before the approval of the Cabinet Secretary. In other words, the budget we are going to deal with generally is a Kibaki Raila budget, not Uhuru budget. Kenyans must know that, because it's still, the president said he wants to have a leaner government. You can only do it in budget. He has not taken control of the budgeting process, at least his part. So how is he going to have a leaner government? How is he going to control his budget? He does not have a cabinet secretary. It's still the same people who are there in Kibaki Raila government who are still at the treasury. So he may meet the challenges, but I wanted to say this. If you say that you're doing the interviews yourself, you saw the 4 good Kenyans, really.
Right.
I couldn't, unless they have done something Kenyans don't know. But I know those people personally. I think they are as good as a Kenyan can get. They don't need no interview. Fred Matiang'i needs no interview. Rotich needs no interview. I know them personally. Amina, who for whatever reason never became the Secretary General of WTO, but is a renowned figure around the world. I have been in conferences with her internationally. When she talks, the world listens. Kenya is really a minute portion of what she can control. She controls the world in terms of trade. So she is the right person for a growing economy at that position. Macharia, he has been, the man runs one of the most efficient banks in the country. You know, I'm even surprised the doctors are
absolutely.
complaining.
I mean, they're
because
concerned.
I think the doctors are out of order. You know, Kenyatta National Hospital, since Professor Nyong'o appointed a human resource manager to Kenyatta National Hospital, there are no more strikes. Because the issue in the medical sector and the education sector is management.
Not so much somebody who has been there, knows their problems.
There's nothing to know in management. You just have to be competent. You don't have to know how to kudunga mtu shindano, to know how the supply chain works. The opposite is what is true. Somebody can be a doctor, but also be a management savvy person. But think of it this way. What are our problems that the president is seeking to cure in the medical sector? The mess, the system is simply too large for the country. And I know, for example, the MOH in Siaya, who many times find himself as the only doctor in the district hospital. He's the one who drives to Nairobi to go to Kemsa to pick up medication. That is a problem. A doctor, you can't be that educated and then you come and pick medicine from Nairobi. That is what Uhuru is trying to cure. Let doctors treat people. Let the supply chain and the management of hospitals be done by managers. And that is how it happens in America, in Britain, and the world over, where order is created. Why have courses in our university for human resource management, for management, for finance, and have those jobs be taken by doctors?
Absolutely.
Where do you want, you know, even universities, to get a university professor to go and manage a college, he may be a professor of history.
But as a manager.
As a manager. And that is the mess we must accept. I went to school in America. Not once was the president of my university from the teaching fraternity. They come like, there would be people like Condoleezza Rice. There would be different type of people. The hottest person for American university today is Condoleezza Rice. They want her to be in their establishment. So Kenya must change. I must tell you, I am very impressed by what I saw as the initial announcement. However, I want to say this. 4 people is not a cabinet. 14 people will be a cabinet. And the 14 is by law, it's in the constitution, between 14 and 22, maximum of 22. So what the president can do for us is give us at least 14, then the vetting will begin. There are some things which you cannot determine if the president said, and I disagreed with him when he said parliament to get to work. You cannot get to work to vet 4 people. That is not a cabinet. A cabinet is the 4, is the 14 plus maybe 8 others. If he wants 14, bring them today. We in parliament will begin work. But if there's an attempt for somebody to say we begin work to vet for 4 people, I personally will resist. Because how will I know if in the final end, or final analysis, there will be gender balance and there will be regional balance? You know, the campaigns may have been what they usually are, where politicians lie. We are going into government. But the reality is that now we are in a new constitutional dispensation, and the law shall have to be followed, so that a cabinet is a minimum of 14. And that we can sit down as a committee and say, regions have been represented, women are represented. See, the president pulled a trick.
A trick?
Yeah, 3 men and 1 woman. So it gives the
names.
impression that it will go in that order, that the requirements will be met. But we don't want to deal with impressions. We want the law followed. And the only way to tell is by seeing.
So you have to have all the names first
at least
before you start. Of course, we want to get the perspective of our viewer. You can actually send your questions and concerns to 2442, and of course, Jakoyo Midiwo here will be responding to some of them. There was a concern that was raised by John Mbadi in the House that even if Henry Rotich's nomination as Secretary for Treasury is approved, it would still be impossible for him to present the budget to the House via the Budget Committee on time. Perhaps you could break that down for us.
Well, I think he was only being factual. What he was alluding to was that even if the committee sat today or last night and approved and
said, this is the man.
This is the man. Most likely he will be approved. I know the guy is a competent analyst, economist, you know, good face for Kenya. But how will he go to the office? The earliest he could have gone to the office, according to Mbadi, is tomorrow, Friday. Then organize and set, organize his budget policy and bring the budget to Parliament. It is not possible. There is a hitch in law. That's what he's implying, he was trying to imply. So I think it is our responsibility. We know that elections were just held on March 4th, and then there was the court process. I think all of us need to find a solution. We can't blame it on President. I certainly wouldn't. I think Parliament and the executive need to figure out a way how to get around the law. I think Kenyans will understand because really it is simply impossible. The law says those things need to be here at least 2 months before. So it says by 30th of April. Then you're looking at a budget date of a maximum of 30th June. So you have your 2 months. But I don't think we could die if we had 1 month. So that the president can have a chance to have what he wishes in his budget policy, in his budget framework. I think a solution will be found. That is why we are where we are. I think we have to offer leadership, not criticize for the heck of it.
Just talking about the intrigues in terms of the political relationship between CORD and Jubilee in the House. You are a member of the Committee on Appointments. There's a concern here. The majority of the members in the committee are actually from Jubilee. So will we see a situation, perhaps you might just decide to frustrate the whole process because you are from the minority?
Again, remember, Johnston, when 5 years ago, it was very difficult for PNU and the ODM to survive, coexist. I remember I was the chief whip and George Thuo was my opposite. We pulled the country through that. I think this is a less difficult scenario than it was then. We did because I said we don't want to oppose for the heck of opposition. We must oppose when things are not going right. And I have said as much when I spoke up, commented on the president's speech. I said we will work with Jubilee. We in CORD, we accept we are a minority. And I don't think it is bad to be defeated. We will win another day. I think we need to teach Kenyans that this is a process, and if people want Jubilee, they will choose more MPs in Jubilee. And that is what has happened. I think it is incumbent upon myself and CORD members of Parliament to understand that we're in the minority. But it is also good for the Jubilee leadership to understand that we will not be cheerleaders. We will work together where it benefits Kenyans, but we shall definitely disagree and vehemently disagree when it is selfish to them. So what I would say to your question is that we want to aid the process, not to stall the process. And we will work together. I see so far so good. There's really no reason to be jittery. And we want to welcome them to work with us. Because so the opposite, everybody loses. Yeah.
So you're willing to work with the Jubilee administration. But then perhaps you could take us through the whole process. Of course, we are waiting for the list to be unveiled. So what should we expect from there? We've been told that the public will also be sort of part of the vetting process. What should we expect?
Well, if the president were to appoint his cabinet today, and he has promised he will do it at 9 o'clock this morning, then we should expect some time, today or Tuesday, the names of the cabinet, not for individuals, the names of the cabinet to come to the House. That should be the proper path. Then the Speaker will make a formal announcement that the executive has sent the names, and then they are committed to the relevant committee, which committee is the committee I belong to, and the Speaker is the chair. Then from then, there is 7 days for the public to talk, to interrogate the process, and probably inform us where, what they see, if there is something that we need to know about a particular, we could know, all we know is that these are good Kenyans. For all you know, somebody can come from somewhere and say so-and-so is a rapist.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So-and-so is a wife.
They have information.
And we are saying in chapter 6, you are automatically disqualified. So-and-so forged such and such, automatic, we will not allow that. Or even if the numbers didn't, we disagreed in the committee, we will voice our disapproval. So the majority, the minority may have their say, but the majority may have their. But those are issues somebody can take to court once they are pointed out. But that 7 days, I believe, is sufficient.
So what are the avenues? I mean, perhaps I have a concern. Where do I go to?
The committee will hold public hearings. So you can get to us through Parliament. Usually, a complaint or a contact of Parliament is the Clerk of National Assembly. And probably you probably can walk into the hall where the vetting will be done. These are really public hearings.
And perhaps if there's a problem with one of the nominees appointed by the president, what happens? Do we go back to the drawing board, or we just continue and tell them, hey, get another person on board?
I think you would have to continue. I think I think the suggestion that you could drop the whole list would not help the country much, because I think it is to an individual. I love soccer, and one of the things that bothers me about soccer is that when one person commits a foul, he's given a red card, and the whole team suffers. In American football, for example, one person is sent off, somebody else comes in. Because it's a game of 11 and 11. So we should not take the football approach where one person is faulty, and therefore everybody has a fault. So in my view, I think the intention of the Constitution is to vet individuals. But these individuals are in one omnibus called cabinet. So the cabinet must continue. The appointment has happened. Then the president will substitute.
Right. There's another concern here. Of course, the deputy President made it very clear that the only two politicians who will be part of cabinet will be the two, President and Deputy President. But there's a concern here that what will happen to some of the bigwigs, political bigwigs like Najib Balala and Charity Ngilu? Do you see a place where they might come in from your own perspective?
Well, Kenyans voted for change. I am so impressed that Uhuru has understood that. Because you see, this rampant conservatism which permeates our society, somebody has to confront it. And I think this guy, as being young, must confront it. You know, to recycle people like Ngilu now and again, really, when will we see a new face? All these people, even that vetting process, we will have to lay them out so that Kenyans can see them, quite frankly. They are Kenyans, but I think they have served their term. And they are people who represent the old order. I don't have a lot of problems with Balala. I think he can still find a place, but I think he needs to find that place in the political realm, not in executive, because we have chosen to go a different direction. Our cabinet secretaries should be people who are equal to that task, not the people who can go to game and announce, I will give you water, even though they don't have budget. You see, this is the change we are making. Let the politicians in parliament, through the budget process, say that Makueni needs water. Let these technocrats then implement, because we shall give them the money. You know, there is a fundamental issue. The change we are trying to make must be understood for what it is. You know, before, the president and a few mandarins around him used to decide where a road goes. That era is gone. Mm-hmm. That era is gone. In fact, when we get to do the budget, which will be in the next couple of weeks, we will say, if it is roads, spread it. Put it on the board. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Why is there no inch of road in Wajir, of tarmac road? Put money there. We shall put the money. Mm-hmm. You will not stop us. That is the change we have chosen as a country because of inequalities and iniquities of distribution of resources. Mm-hmm. So we want everybody to have a bite of the national cake pie, right. National cake.
Right. Perhaps just talking about the numbers in Parliament, there's a concern here that perhaps when we talk about the majority and the minority, it's purely a fallacy, whereby you might have one person elected under a particular party, but their true loyalty is to a different party. Is that the case?
Yeah, that is the case. And you know, I must tell you, arising from my experience in the last election, and I'm sure you know as well as I do, that this last elections, money played a very big part. But the other thing which played a part is the lack of the party leaderships to accept to Kenyans that no political party has the capacity to conduct nominations. Let me give you an example. If you go to TESO, for example, Raila got every presidential vote, but URP got the 2 MPs there. Mm-hmm. Those 2 MPs were the most popular people. I went there a couple of times, and you could tell these are popular people. You could be told. But when ODM went to do nomination, they just messed it up. So the most popular people were bundled out. They went to URP, they won. You can't honestly say they believe in URP. Mm-hmm. They were looking for a vehicle to come to parliament. Those are challenges that we need to address within our political parties as we move forward. The political parties must accept and must stop taking Kenyans through 2 elections, nomination and the general election, because no political party has the capacity. The same case was in Jubilee. see, there are several winners who are in parliament today who are not the choices of our party leaders. And the public must understand that we are trying to do something which we don't have the capacity to do. No political party which is not the government can conduct a nationwide nomination and end up still intact. So the answer to your question lies in reorganization of political parties, and political parties being honest with Kenyans. Honest with Kenyans. You cannot have been elected 3 times, and each time there is a mess in my nomination. Each time. And I know if I went to another party in my constituency, I probably would still win because they were electing me. But it has happened across the country. It is time for political parties to take stock and reorganize. And in the West, what happens is, for example, the ODM party had no business taking its Secretary General through nomination. Because what it does, it inflicts wounds. It does not help the party. When you take your Secretary General to nomination, or chairman, who controls the secretariat? Who becomes the party? Look at Peter Kenneth's party. No noise. He said, these are my candidates.
And that was it.
And nobody said it's undemocratic, because that is the way it should be. Look at Karua's party. No nomination. They're peaceful. In fact, they came out very organized, even like in the presidential campaign, because they never experienced internal noise. You cannot succeed when there's too much noise around you.
Now, just talking about your place in Parliament, we have Borromeo here, says, what plans does court have to entrench the rule of law in Kenya to ensure that money does not buy both the elections and the judiciary?
Well, court will be unveiling what we want to do one at a time, because you can't do everything. You must also recognize that Parliament has power. But Parliament we have new MPs. We have to take them through proper induction so that they can understand that being an MP in CORD or Jubilee is not enough. You need to lead Kenyans, whether they voted on your side or otherwise, because we want to leave a legacy. We want the future of our children and our grandchildren to be better than what we are experiencing. So what will CORD be doing? Number one, we will be suggesting many things. First of all, we must take stock as a country. Is this presidential system good for Kenya? This system, if it is left, if it is the Kikuyus and Kalenjins, they will win. Luos and Kikuyus will win. Lawyers and Luos, they will win. Those things are not good for Arendile, for minority groups. When will you see a Turkana president? This system must be audited. It does not augur well for our people. It favors the big 5 tribes in the country and leaves 37 people, 37 tribes. We can't live like that as a country. We need to take stock. So CORD will champion that. Number 2, arising from these last elections, what must we do? We have said there's a problem at the IEBC, which problem the Supreme Court has said must be sorted out. If you read the ruling, number 1, the country cannot go through another election with this Isaka-San Commission. It is incompetent, but it is not by choice. It's because a few people chose not to follow the intentions of Kriegler. We wanted a strong secretariat and a commission that just sets policy implemented by technocrats. What are we going to be doing? We will be suggesting that all commissions be reduced to 3 working part-time, and I mean all. Working
You're talking about the members in those commissions?
In the commission, memberships. But with stronger secretariats of staff seconded by the Public Service Commission. Because these are trained Kenyans. So that if there is a HR manager at Ministry of Health we think can do well, we want to give that power to Public Service Commission. That way, we will be following the trend world over. Everywhere, the electoral commissioner is one person. The elections are run by secretariats. The problem in IEBC is that these commissioners want to do procurement. Everybody sees them. But if you had civil servants doing it, you can go after them. These commissioners must remain independent, but in terms of policy making. Nobody should interfere. Then, whatever they do must be done. What we're also going to be saying that there is only one law-making body in the country, so that a commission does not wake up and say anything that is not approved by the representative of the people. We cannot make the policy. They make the policy. If it is bad, we shall reject it. Then we will be leading the country in the right direction. Secondly,
just to cut you short, on talking about the number of people in a particular commission, of course, it has been seen as a move to basically push the Salaries and Remuneration Commission to consider your pleas to have your pay perks revised. Is it in that line?
No, it's. Let me concede. I think it has accelerated that argument, because I think But let me say this: when we were forming commissions, this electoral commission, if you go back to the Hansard, I said, let us not have more than 3. The argument that prevailed that time, people saw that a national cake was being divided. We want somebody from our region. People did not see it my way to see the effects of the numerous members. Because when there are 9, they begin to fight over a pie. They are many and they are too powerful, more than the secretariat. Let me tell you this. I have said the issue of salaries has been accelerated by has accelerated this quest, and you would expect it. Look at what Sarah Serem did. She takes what an MP was making, 851,000, multiplies by 222, then divides by 349. Then she gets 541.4. Then she says an MP's salary is for. Is that something you need somebody to earn 1 million shillings for?
But the concern has been we cannot handle that. It's absolutely unsustainable.
So what I'm telling you, these commissions, many of which we appointed to reorganize our lives, because we were going the wrong direction as a country. Unfortunately, they are products of the same. They behave the same. There is no change. In fact, this CIC, where Nyachai earns more than the president, You know, some things just don't make sense. So the MPs, win or lose, there is a law which we must defend them on. In the current Finance Act 2012, we saw that this Salaries Commission would be rogue. So we said all their regulations, like the Electoral Commission, must be brought to Parliament for approval. Let me tell you this. Kenyans may think they're dealing with MPs. When they're done with MPs, they will be going after other people. What must happen is that the Kenyans must know the Constitution says that no person, no body can make legislation other than parliament. By Sarah Serem purporting to alter Pensions Act through a subsidiary legislation, we will reverse it. It is our responsibility. By her purporting to tell MPs you can only meet 4 times a week, she is making legislation. Mm-hmm. You know, no, right is right and wrong is wrong. But even in that breath, she increased her salary 3-fold while reducing salaries of others. The morality, where is the morality of that? Mm-hmm. Remember, in the miscellaneous amendment, Sarah Serem, through Attorney General, tried to make her job full-time. In the wisdom of Parliament, we said they work part-time. She has made herself full-time. She's a part-time by law, but earning 1 million shillings. Mm-hmm. And then she adds the salary of Nyachai, which the President and the Prime Minister 2 years ago said because it's only a 5-year term, pay him the 1.5 million to stop the noise. Mm-hmm. 1.5 million is not enough for this guy who just talks. Really?
Let me cut you short. So, in simple terms, you're still paying to have your perks revised?
No, there's nothing to revise. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to revise. I would advise them to stop playing politics with MPs. Right. MPs can be rogue because they have the power given to them. They are elected by people. We want MPs to remain sane. But I would plead with Salaries Commission to stop that trend. It is not good. I think we are better when we work together. But I wanted to say one other thing on your question. I am of the opinion that now that we have accepted to move on, because there was a question where there's so much talk. I see the Chief CJ is disagreeing with people criticizing with their ruling. But I want to plead with him to agree to be criticized. I am of the opinion that something must happen. The International Court must audit this process, which we have just gone through of court, so that we can make Kenya a better place. These judges, in my view, did not do justice to Kenya. And I believe, I am not a lawyer. I don't understand law, but only to a minimum extent. But the Chief Justice owes Kenyan an explanation for a 1-minute pronouncement after putting so many people in anxiety. You know, what does he expect the people who voted for Raila, even if they were just 1,000 people? If you want to carry Kenyan forward, the reason we created Supreme Court was because we wanted a court of last resort. That court must conduct itself in above board. I don't think they conducted themselves above board.
All right. Perhaps just a final word because of time. What is your take and what is your role in terms of bringing in national unity, especially in the House and, of course, nationally?
Like I said, for the sake of Kenyans, we in court, we understand we are outnumbered. So it is our duty, a national duty, not to oppose for the heck of opposition, but to protect the interests of Kenyans. And in that regard, we will be working with our opposites for the common good. Where they have excesses, we shall try to stop them. And I truly believe this country must move as one. I think it's wrong to say that we are an opposition. We are a minority. The new dispensation does not have opposition.
But there have been calls to have Raila and Kalonzo back to Parliament to strengthen the opposition bit.
Well, if you ask me, I personally don't think it is a good idea. Personally. Of course, that is just me. Mm-hmm. I do not think whatever they can do in Parliament, we cannot do. But I think I was one of the proponents of this thing that if you vie for president, since you are going to the executive, you should not worry about the legislature. I am now, after this debate and the aftermath of elections, I am of a differing opinion. Because how would people introduce themselves to Kenyans? Think of Kalonzo, think of Raila, even Uhuru. They have had a chance to vie before. Then they have stayed in the realm of politics. What we have done now, we have lost Karwa, an astute legislator. We have lost Peter Kenneth. We have lost Raila. We have lost Kalonzo. So we will also be looking at that. I think we need to go back to the law so that they don't look like hypocrites when they still want to stay in politics. What is obtaining today, they appear vanquished. They appear like they have been bundled out of politics and they're out and retired. That, to me, is not the way we need to take the country. And it can happen to anybody. Mm-hmm. So I think the right approach would be that scenario where you can stand. See, like John McCain is still a senator. He lost to Barack Obama. He's playing his role in legislation. That is the direction we need to go, and I think we need to address that in law. Unfortunately, the law does not allow it today, and unfortunately, a few things we did are regrettable that stop us from having quick fixes to such problems. So I think we will, or at least I will, because I played a part in doing that, we will be reversing that when we revise the Elections Act.
All right.
Yeah.
Many thanks, Jakoyo Midiwo. Many thanks for being here on the Power Breakfast Show.
Thank you.
Of course, talking to the Deputy Leader of Minority in the National Assembly. We'll be right back.